Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Okay, so we left y'all on a cliffhanger last week about the one that made my blood boil. And I think it made my blood boil for several reasons. And then I know it made your blood boil for different reasons. But for me, I think what got me was it was a front desk person. And as y'all have heard for weeks, I had issues with the front desk. So I'd been in and out of all these conversations for a while. And in July, like towards the end of July, I had pulled this person aside and had said, I'm going to have to make some changes. To have too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, which one of y'all needs to go? Like, I was that bold and obnoxious and bitchy, whatever. But I was just like, I don't know what else to do with y'all anymore. And so she should have known I was at my wit's end with, you know, everything. And so to me, what that should translate to is being on your best behavior.
Yeah.
And yet it just seemed to not faze any one of them. Mm-hmm. And so she, y'all have, you know, we've talked a lot about our Delta drop and the challenge with that. And I promise I'm not trying to keep y'all on a cliffhanger, but if I don't give the background of this, like the email is not going to make sense as to why it was so irksome. But I think that in and of itself, irks me already is that we were already having so many issues and so many corrective coaching conversations that you would think that when your boss tells you we're going to be making some staffing changes, and I don't know if you are one of the changes, like if somebody said that to you, my guess, if somebody said that to me, I would be like, I'm looking for another job because they're telling me I'm about to get fired. Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to be like, okay, I got to cut my crap and figure it out and be on my best behavior. Those are my two options. And so for me to go avenue 3, which is change nothing at all, is bizarre to me. But I guess maybe, I don't know what to say about that. But to me, I just dumbfounded, I guess is the word. So anyway, the background on this particular incident is that we had the Delta drop, and then now we've got a lot of patients that I guess, and this is where you might have to supplement in here because I get confused on the math. But bottom line is, some of these Delta plans pay just fine. Mm-hmm. And some of them will send us the check. So then there's the other, like we thought the only issue was going to be whether they send us the check or the patient the check. Ha ha ha. No, Delta, the gift that keeps not giving. It apparently, even if they'll send us the check, but now they're going to kick us to a fee schedule that's even worse than their in-network fee schedule. So like, now the patient's outstanding bill is like $200, even though they paid us. And so we were like, oh crap, we didn't think about, maybe you thought about that scenario. I hadn't really considered that. And so our AR person was like, well, why don't we just cap their portion at $99? So like, if it's a covered service, we won't charge you any more than $99 if, you know, whatever. So we might lose money on the deal. Like if Delta only pays us $30 for the cleaning and x-rays and fluoride, and now we're only charging $99, but you know what, at least we've retained some patients, we got paid something. I don't know, like we're still experimenting, we're trying to figure this out.
A trial and error thing. Yeah,
right. So she mentions let's just cap it, and I go, I have no idea. Now we're talking about math, and I'm not going to go there. Like, that's what I pay you to do. Bethany, you're good at math. Associate, you're good at math. Y'all figure this one out. I don't care enough. Like, I'll see whoever. I won't see whoever. Like, doesn't matter to me, but don't ask me to weigh in on math. Like, I don't know. And then the next week, or, you know, we were fine for like 2 weeks. And then it comes up about fluoride. But then our AR person's like, no, I said the 99 is for covered services. But this is, you know, fluoride's a non-covered benefit because I only get it once a year. So now we're going to bill them the 99 plus the fluoride amount. And so I'm just like, dude, the 99 made my head hurt. Now this is all, like, it's too complicated. And when anything gets too complicated, you're asking for disaster.
Right.
Like, if I'm finding it complicated, sure as hell our patients are going to find it complicated. So we need to find a better solution to this. And then I just said that. I just said, y'all, we need to simplify this. It's too much. And then I was like, but I don't understand the math, and I don't want to understand the math. So somebody else figure it out. Yeah. Y'all do whatever you want to do with this. So Does that give enough background?
That gives enough background to know that I think the next component of that is your billing coordinator and I got together. We tried to make it, she and I conversed to say, hey, how can we simplify this to the absolute bare necessities, just enough for the in-office business team to be able to execute. She put together an SOP that I reviewed. I believe your associate reviewed as well. We were like, okay, this makes sense. Let's roll this out to the front team and make sure that they understand it. We never heard anything back from the front desk team on it. So, okay, the assumption is it makes sense. They're using it. Bad assumption on our part. It was a really stupid assumption. We find out a month, 6 weeks, something like that later, that they never even read the SOP, apparently missed the email, were surprised.
Even though we talked about it. We had like a 3-hour team meeting.
Yeah.
And then then the email went out with all the summary points, and they chose not to look at that email.
So, yes.
So hence, when I keep referring to all these front desk issues we were having, this is what we were asking. They all like nodded their heads and then chose to go do whatever the hell they wanted to do. Anyway.
Yes. So they had received the information in person. They received the email summary. Well, whatever. The email summary went out. 4 to 6 weeks later, there's questions coming up from some Delta patients. The billing coordinator's like, I don't understand. Why aren't we following the protocol, the policy? Well, we don't understand the protocol and policy. We don't understand. Why would it not apply here? Basically, they were confused about why can't it just be a $99 cap across the entire appointment, even if the pano and fluoride and exam are not covered. We should just always charge only the $99. And I'm like, what? That makes... How does that make sense at all? Like, that... They're getting a better deal in so many ways than they would have even if we were contracted with Delta. So anyway, this kind of popped back up. I think they wanted just super easy, just always 99, and then we can execute that. But that does not make good practice management sense. So the billing coordinator and I got back together on it to try to figure out, like, what can we do to make this simpler? And within that time, there was a question that your manager sent to you that was basically like, hey, there's confusion on this whole policy. And now you can kind of...
Well, and I think this is after y'all had already clarified.
Yeah.
Y'all had already done that. We'd already been like, why aren't y'all reading these emails? Why aren't you doing what we asked you to do, 6 weeks ago? But here it is again. We've reconvened. We've talked about it again with your concerns. Like, this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Well, then this person in the office, she said she printed it for them. The SOP that they dug out and found, we resent it to them. We're like, this one, remember this? We had the team meeting on June 4th, and then we sent this on June 5th, and y'all, now it's like August 1st, and we're still doing what we were doing on May 31st. This is what we were talking about. So she's like, well, I printed it, but there was a family that had come in that morning. And she's like, and I didn't use this policy on that family. So basically she's doing whatever the hell she wants to do, per usual. And she's like, so, and it was before we were informed about this better.
Yeah.
Okay. So before you were resent the email that you were sent in June that you never looked at. Okay. Now you've looked at it and printed it. But you did that after this family left. Mm-hmm. So then she said, so this better not make it into y'all's list of our mistakes. Mm-hmm. And all of that's in capitals, in caps.
Right.
So first of all, already right there, I'm like, this better not make it into your list of things you're going to get onto us about. Mm-hmm.
Well,
I can get onto you.
You should be getting in trouble for it. Yeah. Because it was something that was talked about, an email that was sent 6 weeks ago that you guys have disregarded. You should absolutely get in trouble for it.
Right. But even all of that, like, don't tell me what you're going to get in trouble and not in trouble for. That's like my child going, well, I didn't pack my tennis shoes, but don't get mad at me for that. I already know I didn't get my tennis shoes. No, ma'am, get over here. You're still getting punished. Like, what? Who are you? where are we right now? Do not tell me. Anyway, super disrespectful, first of all. Then later when I asked about it, it was, oh, I was just joking. Because we joke about like our list of mistakes and things like that.
And we joke in all caps, usually. Yeah. That usually indicates joking, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this, mind you, after, again, when I'd had that talk about the, which team member needs to go here, one of the things that came up was, I need y'all to quit. One of the direct comments from me to her was, I need you to quit taking everything so personal. Mm-hmm. Because when we give you a list of mistakes, that list is not to be like, you suck as a person, you suck at your job. It's, why are we making this mistake? Let's see how we can fix it.
How
this is
can
how
we
we
fix
improve
this?
Things.
Yeah.
We do it in the back. The staff does it for me on things I've messed up. If I've not left a good set of notes, or if I said an MO on tooth number 3, but then I really meant to say DO, and the staff's like, you caused a lot of confusion. You know what I mean? Like we all, that's how we, so I'm tired of this environment of, we're all going to point out each other's mistakes no, that's not the point. The point is so that we can all grow and improve and work like a well-oiled machine. Yes. So we'd already just talked about that like 4 days before. And then I think
it's coming back up again.
Yeah. So already just that comment alone ticked me off. Mm-hmm. Because it was basically like, well, yeah, I know I screwed up, but I know I screwed up, but I said I screwed up. So you shouldn't get mad at me about it. Don't get mad at me and say I screwed up. Okay, child. So anyway, I was already annoyed with that. And then this person goes on to say, what makes me uncomfortable is that we are to refrain from telling them about the flat fee. And I'm supposed to sell an exam that is $75, but tell them it's $174 to include the flat fee rate, which makes me feel like a liar and a cheater and morally and ethically very uncomfortable. And that is against what we're supposed to represent here. So, Bethany, what would you do?
Yeah. Wow. So, well, I will also refrain here from what my initial reaction was. Actually, I think I shot an email back that was way more curt than I normally am. And I even apologized to your manager who had sent the email because I didn't want it to be confused that I was aiming this at her. It was just a lot of frustration because what I'm immediately hit with in this email, first of all, tone, an unhelpful tone. If we really look at the facts, there were a lot of mistakes that they themselves made that really they should get in trouble for. And we were very gracious and had not gotten onto them for those things. And so already it's this super defensive response. But beyond that, the fact that you can take the whole $99 cap was an attempt to control expenses for the patient. We didn't have to do that. We could have easily gone with the policy of we send out $300 to Delta, they pay us $100, the patient is billed $200. That is our right and that is our prerogative as a non-contract provider. We came up with the $99 cap as an attempt to be helpful to our patients. You as the practice owner do not have to write off $101. You don't have to. You were willing to do that if it made this transition for patients more palatable. So to take something that is a gift to our patients and to somehow turn that into something that is unethical, immoral, like we are doing something immoral?
By giving the patient a discount.
Whoa. So to me, it took it beyond, I don't understand this policy, or I haven't.
Which is clearly what was the issue. She didn't understand it.
She didn't understand it. But she took it from, I don't understand this, or I'm so sorry that I keep struggling with this, but for whatever reason, my mind can't wrap around it. Okay, that's a response that, annoying as it may be, we can figure it out. We'll repeat the information again. We'll write a better SOP. We'll figure it out. But it wasn't that. It's now, let me preface this, I don't understand. Let me lead it up with, this better not be something I'm held accountable for. And let's end that email with ethics and morals. And I feel wrong. I feel wrong doing this.
Man, you talk about a way to piss somebody off. Just tee up your message like that. So I was really bothered by the fact that morals and ethics were brought up on something that was a discount to the patients. And therefore, my response to this was, fine. Fine. If that is confusing, if we don't understand the policy, it goes away. The $99 cap is gone. If we bill out $300 to Delta Dental and Delta Dental pays us $100, the patient will receive a bill for $200. Done. Cut and dry. That is easy math that every person at that front desk can figure out going forward. That is the new policy. This old ceiling that, by the way, was something that headquarters, your front desk team had suggested. Some kind of, is there a limit that we can ultimately stop at? That's when your billing coordinator picked it up and ran with it, and she and I came up with something that we felt comfortable with. So this was something that they had ultimately asked for, so that they weren't having to collect as much from parents.
Well, they didn't want to be yelled at from all these parents, right?
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who are, so what do you mean $200? What do you mean you're out of network? What do you mean you're out of this? So it was meant to be helpful to primarily the patient.
Right.
But then also to our front desk team to be able to say, oh, I know, but you know what? We got you. We're only charging $99. It's okay. If Delta doesn't pay and your bill would have come out to $312, we're only charging you $99. We're going to take care of you. Don't you worry. So it's meant to make them look graceful. The loser in this is me.
100%. Yep.
And I'm not saying I'm going to decrease your salary for each one of these. No, I'm going to take the hit to make it easier for you. So you've got something to fall back on and you look like the hero and the good guy. And then the patient gets a break too.
Yeah.
So that we want our patients to be able to afford dental care. That wasn't the point of getting out of network with Delta. So,
But that's unethical and immoral.
And makes her uncomfortable.
So to me, this is one of those issues that, again, this would have been frustrating as a standalone event. I think with all the context around it, my advice in this situation is to clear the air. Okay, great. You think that's confusing? You think that's immoral? We will take it back to the very basics of being 100% quote unquote moral. The patient will pay whatever the patient has to pay to meet the bill. And so we cleared the air with that. Forget it. It's gone. The thing that you did afterwards, which I think is absolutely critical here, is that you circled back around with the employee and you had a conversation one-on-one with her about this particular email. Because this email is very inflammatory. I don't know. I could assume that this email was written with the eyes of others either looking on or at least some kind of like, this is what I said. So I'm assuming this email didn't happen in a vacuum by herself and words like this were not being shared. This shows an ideology or a belief about the practice owner, about the leadership team that is wrong at the core. If we are communicating a cap to a patient and at the back of our mind we think it's immoral and wrong, that will come out to our patient base. That will come out to our coworkers. And that is not an okay thing. If you don't trust the leadership of your practice or you don't trust the boss in your practice, that's a recipe for disaster, and that has got to be dealt with. And so this email, yes, we cleared the air. We took the confusing policy away and said, fine, let's go back to basic math. But beyond that, this has to be addressed. This mindset or lack of trust has to be addressed, which you did with her directly.
Which, again, I like I've said in another episode, I actually had a good relationship with her, I thought, but again, she's, I guess I've never thought about, yeah, you're right. There might've been other voices talking to her. And I bet it's the other one that didn't understand the policy either, because they probably weren't listening in that meeting.
Yeah.
They don't understand the math, which is why we've had a lot of issues we've had with estimates and updating the fee schedule, like basic front desk stuff that we've been struggling with for 10 months. And that we're not trying to learn it and get to know it. But anyway, But the fact that she, of all people, again, who I've just taken you to a leadership seminar in the summer. I've told you I view you as a leader. Let's get you on there. So to get this kind of email from that person, it was just, beyond my level of being able to stay calm about this. And so I pull, and words like that are super. And by the way, when this email came through, I think my jaw dropped and I looked, and Dr. Kavita was in the office with me, and she's, just the sweetest person. I was like, look at this email. And I didn't say a word. I just said, look at this. Because she could see the look on my face. I think that's where we were joking 1 minute, and I look at this email, and then she could see, she's like, what is wrong with you? Because she's very intuitive. So I think she was like, you were fine 1 minute, and now you've got that look on your face. What happened? And I just turned my screen towards her. I was like, look at this. And her jaw dropped, and she's like, that is beyond inflammatory. Like that, to put that in words in an email, like that is not okay. And so for me, that's kind of always my bar, right? If like Kavita thinks something's not okay, and Kavita's very forgiving and very generous and very gracious. And so if Kavita is like, dude, that's not right, then I know something's not right. Or if you are like, dude, I don't care for this person makes me nervous, then I'm like, okay, I don't have the best bar for that. But I need to listen. When you are directly saying this person is a detriment, then I need to listen to that. Or when you say to me, no, we need to keep this person on the team. And I'm like, no, they're on my nerves. They need to go. And you're like, I'm telling you, you need to keep you usually let me make my own decisions and kind of make me think through, like a good parent, right? Like you're kind of like, no, hold on. Consider the pros and cons, whatever. I'll support your decision. But every now and then you are like, no, this is what it needs to be. And that's where I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen then, because you don't get that way often. Anyway, so for me, I pulled this team member aside and I just said, all of the above. I was like, this is what you just wrote in this email to me. And I dissected it with I was just joking about that part. We joke about well, that's not a joke. And then I said the rest of this, I said, those are very inflammatory words. And as far as I know, like I'm the most moral, ethical person I know, or at least I try to be, because I believe so strongly in karma. I don't want to come back as a roach in my next life. And so like all of these things matter. And those are extremely inflammatory words of all the ones that you could pick. Yeah. And that is not what we are supposed to represent here. What the F does that mean? Yeah. So basically you don't understand the math, which was why it seems shady to you. And now you're going to accuse the leadership team of being shady. That's basically what you said in this email.
That the default is, it must be my shady team, not or my shady leadership. The default isn't like, there must be something I'm misunderstanding about this, because it feels wrong to me, but I know my doc, and I know she's not unethical or immoral. So there's something I'm missing here. I've got to dissect this more to figure out, what am I missing? That wasn't the default. The default was, oh my gosh, this is wrong. She is shady. We've got, this is immoral and ethical. This is not what we represent here. That was the default response.
And that's where I go, because again, this person is not, accountability has not been their strong point. And I really do think that I don't think she understood the policy at all, or the math, or how we were trying to help the patient. Like she
clearly, yeah.
And then sitting next to the other one who's accusing me of not giving them their gift cards, because all of this was going on at the same time. So I'm stealing their gift cards from them. I didn't give you your raise when I promised I would. Well, the raise takes effect the next pay period. Yeah. So even though you told her about it on June 26th, the next pay period started July 1st. Well, that's the week you were on vacation. Mm-hmm. And then the week after that, you were out on COVID. Mm-hmm. So what raise were you getting then? You didn't work 0 hours. Yeah. So yeah, of course you didn't see a raise there. You got your PTO, but your PTO was accrued before your raise went into effect. So, but now she's hearing this person, this other coworker is now saying, we didn't get our gift cards. Look at them slighting us. I didn't get my raise hours. Look at her slighting us. Our patients are not, now this patient is confused. Well, yeah, they're confused because we're charging them more. No, we're not charging them more. You don't understand the math. Because
Correct.
that patient, this policy doesn't apply to that patient because they're not a Delta patient. Or they're not like whatever. Like, you're not following the basics of that. So instead of realizing all of that, it's, I'm shady.
Yeah.
So y'all
Well,
are all
and even
sitting
the
there.
comment of like, sell an exam.
Yes.
Quote
Yes.
unquote, sell an exam? Do
Yeah.
you know how... What?
Yes. And that too, I was like, and I said that to her, I was like, what the hell is that? Are you saying that the patient doesn't need an exam? Like, we're just doing exams because we can bill for it? Are you out of your mind right now? Like, what? So, and the whole tone of her response then was, oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. Oh, well, now that you're saying it, I can see why you would think that, but that's not what I was thinking. And I'm like,
But the words were
no.
clear.
Yeah, the words are clear. You were clearly having a temper tantrum. And you were trying to get my attention. Well, you know what? You got it. Mm-hmm. And so I called her out on it, and I was visibly shaking in that meeting. I was like, how dare you use these words when all I've done is try to be kind to the patient and kind to you. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to help you improve. We're trying to. And now when we're giving you feedback on all these mistakes y'all are making, now we're just picking on y'all for making mistakes. Well, even if I'm entitled to do that. I pay you a paycheck to do a job.
Yeah.
To collect.
Yeah.
Patient knows a balance. You're supposed to collect when they walked in. You didn't collect. Oh, shucks. Were we not? Okay. But you're right.
Don't put that on my mistake list.
Yeah, Target's fine if you just walk out without paying them too. It's okay. Silly. We are a very immoral business trying to collect when we are owed monies for services we rendered. You are correct, man. I don't know. It was just ludicrous. It was ludicrous. So, anyway, that was my other, what would Bethany do? It's been a hot summer, man.
I mean, honestly, just all of these, episodes, these last few weeks, it showcases the crap that can hit the fan. And sometimes we're spared from it. Sometimes we have seasons where we're spared from it.
But it's still
then
there. It's gonna
there's
come.
times that it just all hits at once. And it really is, you got to power through, you got to buckle down. It's exhausting. I get it. You got to do what it takes to take care of yourself in the process of that, to lean on your good supports, to this is where we go back to seek outside help, get support on the outside, get a good counselor, get a good coach, get somebody, even just a friend at church that you can talk to. I don't care who it is. It's hard to carry all of this on your own.
But it does make you go, I mean, it does for me, even like recounting it now over these last 2 episodes. I'm like, is it me? Like, did I like, or what if it's not me? What if I just said, I don't understand the math, I'm turning it over to you, and now you and my AR person, y'all are the shady ones. Associate, you're the shit. Like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And so it really does make you self-reflect and go, what the hell? And then honestly, my conclusion was, no, it is your fault for putting up with this BS long enough.
Yeah.
I am done with putting up with this BS.
Yeah.
And we did. And those 2 people are off the team now.
Yeah.
And I think just that alone for me to go, you know what, I will deal with whatever repercussion comes. We spent some time talking about the earthquake hitting the house and putting my house back in order. But to me, these were major ripples that were going to take down my house if 100%. I hadn't weeded them out. And it took me far too long to weed them out, honestly.
I think that's the perfect analogy to kind of tie it back to the termination episodes. The aftermath is, you're right. Even if you would have kept your house, quote unquote, intact by not terminating these employees, there was damage that they were causing repetitively, almost just like that wrecking ball, like just continuing to clank against the wall over and over. And so even though it wasn't you coming in and knocking out some of the walls, it was them that were repetitively like just beating it down. And I think that's a perfect way to think about it in this scenario. And I think this example that we talked about today, the examples from last week's episode, it shows that is a true culture problem. And it shows the importance of culture. And when you've got 2 like this that are weaving their own web of what's truth or what's reality to them, which is this doctor isn't trustworthy. This doctor's greedy. This doctor is shady in her business practices. She sells exams. She collects what she shouldn't collect. Those are things that can destroy a house, and it's just not worth it to keep dealing with that. So I think when all of this began to be evident on top of the lack of performance issues, it became very clear that it was worth knocking a few walls down in the process and rebuilding rather than letting them knock the whole structure down.
Well, and it does shake you a little bit, right? Because even now, like, we're still rebuilding. It's only been 2 weeks or whatever it's been. And it is, I'm still very cautiously moving forward going, where do I need to be overly suspicious? Where do I need to be under? Do I need to give $5,000 to charity to show I'm not shady? What do I need to do here? Do I need to pull back and take away all perks so people, do I need to be that mean person?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, and then like culture, like we've spent so much darn time talking about culture, and here we are still back with the stinking culture issue. It's defeating.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And I guess to me, it's like, okay, it's all cyclical. And I even said that to I think in a previous episode here recently, I said something about how there was a clinical team member who panicked. She saw a interview going on for another RDA, and she panicked and she's like, are you replacing me? And I was like, what are you talking about? And so I think for me, it is, I just have to be very mindful about what is going on in the practice as I'm rebuilding.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who's thinking what. And even though part of me goes, I just kind of want to get rid of everybody because I don't trust anybody now.
Yeah.
Like if these people that I've given everything to are still going to keep taking and taking and taking, like maybe I just need to have fewer people or put up my own walls. And so it's very tempting to do that too. I think, I don't know, what is the piece of advice here?
I think the piece of advice is don't let a few rotten apples spoil the whole bunch. These, from what we can tell, and I think we were accurate in our assessment here, these were the two rotten apples. And if we would have allowed those to stay, I don't know why it's apples in a bunch. It really should be raspberries. And don't let the two rotten raspberries spoil the whole thing, because that can happen in like days. But these were the two that were spoiling kind of the whole picture. And I don't think that's an accurate assessment of reality. From a practice owner standpoint, there's no reason to let that make you change the whole system for these two.
And I think I lost track of what I was about to say. So when I'm talking to this clinical person, I was like, I'm not replacing you. Like, we just had this person come in. If I find a good fit for the office, I'll always find a spot for them.
Yeah.
And so I'm not replacing anybody. I was like, our clinical team has been so solid for a while now. And then I was like, but that's not going to be forever. Mm-hmm. And so, again, this is where I'm told that I'm negative, but I'm like, but just what goes up must come down. And right now the clinical team is solid, and tomorrow it may not be. Maybe, is that because I've had all my focus on the front and I'm missing what the back is doing? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think for me, that's what you're saying. If I just throw my walls up and say, like, I'm done, well, that's dumb. Like, I need to say, no, the house still needs to go on, but it might be a different pack of termites in that wall next time. Like, it just is a continuation. And, these two were the two vocal, obvious ones in the front. We're still left with two others that, I'll be honest, I don't trust right now. And I'm glad I'm saying it now because I got to figure out how to trust them.
Yeah.
But, because that's not going to be good if I'm always not trusting them.
No. And that's part of the rebuilding phase.
Yeah.
It's figuring out, can those relationships be built on a foundation of trust or not? And we don't know the answer of that. I mean, our hope, we feel like we've put our best effort into a plan that would help to rebuild that trust, but we don't know what's going to happen with that either. So I think, to me, we've kind of carved out the decay, so to speak, that we could evidently see, and we're trying to restore now and hope that it holds.
But there's an analogy. Why'd we go to the house? Why don't we stick with a decayed molar? That's what we can all relate to.
A house is fun to think about, so.
Apples, homes, raspberries, molars. We've got analogies aplenty.
Oh my goodness. Well, I appreciate you being vulnerable enough to share that, because that's a super sensitive email. But I think it's incredibly valuable for our listeners to hear, both our practice owners, our doctors out there, that this stuff could absolutely hit you in the face one day too. It's not pleasant, but I think there's a strategy to how to deal with it. And then I would just encourage our listeners who are team members, don't do this. Don't be this. Don't be that cancer. Don't be that caries that has to be dug out of a tooth. Like, be something that's building a structure that's healthy and strong and good, and just don't go down this path.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.